may be seated. Shabbat shalom. Two lifelong friends were having an argument, so fierce that it threatened to end their friendship. Taking the advice of a loved one, they decided to settle it in front of the rabbi. So, they sit down in the rabbi's study, and the first friend says, "Rabbi, our friendship means so much to both of us, but this fight has ruined everything. We need you to judge this one. One of us is right, and the other is wrong. Please, who is right?" The rabbi nods thoughtfully and tells the first to state their case. After a long, impassioned, 10-minute explanation, the rabbi sighs deeply and says, "You know what? You're right." Bewildered and upset, the second interrupts, "But Rabbi, you haven't even heard my side of the story yet." The rabbi pauses, looks at them, thinks for a moment, and says, "You know what? You're right too." In this story, these two friends cannot resolve their argument, and it threatens to destroy everything they have built together. And while the punchline of this joke is that they're both right, I think it's not only the crux of the joke, but is in and of itself a serious answer. They are both right. Our parsha opens with the most famous argument in all of the Torah, that of Korach against Moses and Aaron. Korach rises up with the claim that the whole of the people is holy. Ki chol ha'edah kulam kedoshim. So, why should Aaron and Kohanim, according to Korach, have this unique role in leading the people? What Korach means is that the entire people, indeed every Jew who ever was and ever would be, stood at Sinai and heard the voice of God. And if that is the case, if we were all sanctified through this encounter, then why do we need specialized intermediaries to serve between us and God? Now, the Torah makes it clear who is right in this story. After a trial by fire, quite literally, Moses and Aaron are shown to be in the right, and the earth fantastically opens up to swallow Korach and his followers. But my question is, what does this account teach us about machaloket, about disagreement? As the saying goes, when you have two Jews, you have at least three opinions. And we are certainly a people that values discussion and impassioned debate. If you've ever been in a Beit Midrash filled with pairs of study partners, you probably understand this. It is loud. It is filled with shouts and arguments on any number of fronts, from word meaning all the way down to the conclusion of an argument. But in this argument, there is a desire to be understood. When two study a text together and argue over its meaning, they are striving to break it apart and through their debate to sharpen their understanding. And there is a term in this in the rabbinic language, machaloket l'shem shemayim, an argument for the sake of heaven. Indeed, the word machaloket comes from the root that describes pieces or division or disagreement. But in an argument for the sake of heaven, this breaking down is for the sake of repair, for the sake of coming to a place of understanding. And the Talmud praises the debates between Hillel and Shammai as the highest form of machaloket l'shem shemayim, of arguing for the sake of peace. See, these two rabbis essentially agreed on nothing. When Hillel would argue A, Shammai would argue Z. But despite this fierce disagreement, Hillel and Shammai maintained a deep respect for one another and instilled that respect in their own students. The Talmud teaches that despite their disagreeing, their families would regularly marry with one another and come closer through that love. What I believe we can learn both from the model of Korach and that of Hillel and Shammai is threefold. We should seek truth while maintaining respect for another and maintaining humility. So truth, respect, humility. In the Beit Midrash, we debate with our chavruta. our study partner. And speaking from experience, this can be passionate, up to the point of screaming at each other. Yet, each person sees the text through their own lens, their own beliefs, their own understandings. And if we each stood at Sinai, if we each heard that unique voice of God, it can be easy to forget that everyone else also heard their unique voice. And through this, we can be easily convinced that only we understand the text correctly. But in studying with a partner, we seek to find that truth together through debate and argument. In finding the truth sometimes means acknowledging that your truth may not be the truth. In arguing, in seeking that truth, we must always keep in mind the dignity and respect with which we and others are created. We must not let our own desire to be proven right get in the way of respecting one another. As the rabbinic teaching says, it is better for a person to throw himself into a fiery furnace rather than embarrass their friend. And finally, we must maintain humility. As sure as we may be that we understand the text or any situation correctly, we are but flesh and blood. We are imperfect, we are limited in our knowledge and our experience. And we must be willing to hear one another, to truly listen and understand, and yes, sometimes even admit that we may not have the whole truth, or we may even just be wrong. Whether it be in a discussion on politics, a debate about a text of Torah, a discussion on belief or practice, or whether raisins belong in challah, we must hold these values in the forefront of our arguments. We must seek truth together through respect and humility. In an age where disagreement often becomes demonization, Parshat Korach asks whether we can hold these two convictions simultaneously. That every member of the community is holy, that we each have a unique understanding of holiness, and that sincere people can and probably should disagree about what holiness entails. Korach teaches us that proclaiming the whole congregation is holy is not enough. The real test is whether we conduct our disagreements in a way that reflects that holiness. So, in returning to our two friends who came to the rabbi, I believe that the answer stands. You are right, and you are right too. Now, lech leshalom, go in peace. Shabbat shalom.